News with John.
There are more in hot weather revealing. I've done it in some groups, and sometimes the hotel people get very uncomfortable. I have us list all the ugly words, all the nasty words we know, all the dirty words. And you can do that and have somebody intended to express trends. We find that wherever a woman is assaulted, she is likely to move from her apartment or home 50% of the time. There is the power rapist who seems to be on an ego trip. He stops when she does whatever he asks. He frequently will say, "Am I the best you ever had?" And do you know what you say if you're in that situation? What? Yes? I think you say it more convincingly. I think you say, "Yes, sir." He batters. He will urinate on the person, have her bark like a dog, have her pour him a drink, and then he'll pour it on her. Cannot seem to get the anger out of his system. And they cannot use that word, R-A-P-E. Professional personnel quietly backed off and went home without medical care because she was unable to say in a private place that she had been sexually assaulted.
Shortly after the United States Supreme Court denied the stay of execution for John Lewis Evans, the procedure leading up to the execution of John Lewis Evans tonight began. Prison spokesman Ron Tate describes what happened as John Lewis Evans was led from the holding cell to the cell where the electric chair was.
It was very shortly after I entered the segregation area of the prison. John Lewis Evans requested that the warden and deputy warden come over to his cell. He shook hands with both of them. He told them he had absolutely no malice whatsoever in his heart and that they had both meant a great deal to him. Shortly after that, he was escorted into the execution chamber. He went very willingly, and from that point on, I did not see anything else.
At 8:30 p.m., the first 30-second charge of 1,900 volts of electricity went through Evans' body. The charge blew the leather strap off his left leg. Both doctors said he was not dead. Prison Commissioner Fred Smith said the charge failed to kill Evans because the leather strap on his left leg malfunctioned. At 8:33 p.m. tonight, the second charge was applied to Mr. Evans. After the doctors examined him again for the second time, they asked for one more charge to be applied. Evans' attorney, Russ Cannon, then asked for clemency from Governor George Wallace on the grounds of cruel and unusual punishment. The governor, on the phone with the Evans lawyers, denied the request, according to Commissioner Smith. At 8:40, the third charge was applied. At 8:44, John Lewis Evans was pronounced dead. This is Norman Lumpkin, WSFA TV News at Holman Station, Alabama.
As I understand it, the 11th Circuit has upheld the temporary stay of execution. I've been informed that the Attorney General is seeking to dissolve that stay in Washington, D.C., that they're flying people to Washington. On behalf of John Evans, we have attorneys ready in Washington to fight any move that the Attorney General might make.
Let's hear. I think that you have to be sensitive to the needs of the needy, particularly the real needy, and there is a need for the pocketbooks and our hearts to get together relative to programs of the future. You can't on one hand be a complete bleeding heart, and on the other hand you can't be a complete fiscal conservative to tightwad approaches from a government basis.
First half, the Atlanta Hawks in white. Dan Roundfield with a strong drive down the lane as the Hawks open a 12-point lead, then the Celtics on a comeback. On their fast break, Maxwell to Archibald, back to Maxwell to Buckner, who drives and scores. Watch this from Dominique Wilkins. What a tremendous reverse underneath for the sensational Atlanta rookie. In the second half, Johnny Davis will go to Dan Roundfield. Roundfield with 19 points to lead the Atlanta Hawks. Larry Bird of the Boston Celtics was held to only 15 points, and that was a key for Atlanta. The game is tied 66-all. From way beyond three-point range, Dominique Wilkins, it's good. Atlanta up by 3, and then Wes Matthews on a nice drive and a pretty feed to Dominique, who drives and jams. The Atlanta Hawks knock off the Boston Celtics 95-93. I'm George Michael for NBC News.
This is a WSFA TV News special report.
Good evening, I'm Gina Gregory. Alabama Prison Commissioner Fred Smith says the execution time for John Lewis Evans is set for 8:30 this evening. Evans' head has already been shaved, and he will be escorted to the room and strapped into the electric chair, which is known as Old Yellow Mama, at about 8:15. Commissioner Fred Smith will have an open line to the governor. He says the governor's staff has called to confirm that the governor is aware of the Supreme Court's action. Witnesses to the execution are already being taken over to the prison. They include Gary Mitchell of the Associated Press, Mark Harris of the United Press International, and Stan Bailey of the Birmingham News. Prison Commissioner Smith will also be in the viewing room with the reporters. He'll have an open line to Governor Wallace's office. Once again, the execution time for John Lewis Evans has been set for 8:30 this evening. He's already been shaved, and he's being ready to be taken over to the room at 8:15. We will break into our regular scheduled programming at 8:30 with a live phone report from Don Phelps, who's in Atmore when the execution is taking place or is already over. Now we'll go back to our regular scheduled program. This has been a WSFA TV News special report.
WSFA TV News special report.
Good evening, I'm Gina Gregory. The execution of John Lewis Evans is over now. I've got Don Phelps on the phone now. He's in Atmore. And Don, can you tell us what happened?
Just moments ago, exactly at 8:30 on the dot, we were told that the warden of Holman Prison switched 1,900 volts of electricity for 30 seconds went through the body of John Lewis Evans. We understand now that the warden is now walking into the death chamber. Along with him will be 2 doctors. Doctors are now just entering the death chambers. They will make a pronouncement on Mr. Evans. We're waiting for that word. He was notified about this latest development in the case when the Supreme Court decided to invalidate the stay. And we were told by prison officials when he was given that word shortly after 7 o'clock, he was not surprised. And everything has gone according to the schedule that the prison officials have laid down. Immediately after he was given the information that the stay was invalidated by the Supreme Court, They began shaving his head. He could have worn a suit supplied by the prison, but he wanted to wear prison clothes, we were told. He also had a chance to make a 2-minute statement right before the switch was activated. We understand yesterday that he had planned on making a statement, but that would not be released. That statement was only to the members of the execution team and the warden. As we said, right now they are currently checking John Evans. The switch was thrown at exactly 8:30 Central Time, and we are currently waiting to see what the pronouncement is. We have a direct line going into the home and prison, the command post, and we're being relayed this information by a spokesperson for the prison department. So we're waiting right now at this point to see what happens as far as the pronouncement is concerned. We expect that momentarily. A few things about the electrocution process. It takes about 3 to 4 minutes to walk the prisoner down the hallway. It's only 15 feet. They immediately, well, from what we understand, strapped Mr. Evans in the chair. They said that there was no struggle at all. Throughout the day, we've been told that he has been sort of very calm, although he did refuse to eat his lunch and dinner meal today. He did eat breakfast earlier today. But right now, the situation is that they have indeed thrown the switch. 1900 volt surge for 30 seconds went through his body. They say that they let it run for a 30-second cycle just to make sure. They say the moment that the first 1900, he has not been pronounced dead yet. They're saying right now, apparently the first charge did not kill him. He has not been pronounced dead. That's according to a prison official spokesperson in the media center here. Now, we asked about this yesterday. They said the likelihood of that was very slim. They were talking about a 1 in a million shot that the first bolt of electricity. Another charge has just been initiated. So the first charge did not kill him, and they outlined that yesterday that they would indeed, if the first charge did not kill Mr. Evans, would initiate another charge. We're being passed along this information from people who are inside home and prison, inside near the death chamber. It's being relayed through a spokesman. 1 second. Okay, the doctors and Warden White, who is the warden of home and prison, have just now entered the execution chamber for a second time. They say this is very rare that the first surge of electricity does not kill an inmate. So they threw the switch exactly at 8:30, and it appears, according to my watch, about 4 minutes later, threw the switch again a second time. They did not pronounce him dead after the first 1900 volts of electricity went through his body for a 30-second duration.
How long are they going to let this go, Don?
They say that they will do this until he is pronounced dead by the doctors. They didn't talk very much about it yesterday, and at first I asked the question. I said, what happens if the first charge of electricity does not kill him? And they more or less said, well, we're not even thinking about that possibility. There's no way that an inmate could survive the first surge of electricity. But we kept pressing them and asking what would happen if indeed the first charge of electricity did not kill the inmate. They said that they would continue until he was dead.
So that's what we're waiting on right now.
We're waiting on right now a pronouncement. They have thrown the switch twice, both times sending 1900 volts of electricity for 30 seconds through his body. So we're waiting right now for the official word from the doctors that he is dead, that the second charge of electricity did indeed take Evans' life. Now, this is the first, this is the first electrocution ever held at home and prison. Prior to this, all the other electrocutions have been held at Kilby.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, this is the first electrocution in Alabama in 18 years.
Don, while we're waiting to find out what happens with the doctors, what kind of preparations have been made for Evan's body once the pronouncement has been made?
Okay, from what we understand, we were given a briefing on this yesterday. The Department of Forensic Science will view the body to make sure there has been no abuse, and then they will then take the body to the University of South Alabama, and we understand that Mr. Evans has donated his body to science. They did not elaborate on that, but his body will be taken directly. I think we just got a pronouncement. The doctors have just now left the execution chamber, and still no word on a pronouncement yet. As I said earlier, Gina, we understand that the body has been donated to science, that Mr. Evans, that was his wish, to donate his body to science, and immediately after he is pronounced dead, he will be examined and taken in what we understand not a hearse, but a station wagon owned by the Department of Forensic Science to the University of South Alabama in Mobile.
Okay, are there a group of reporters then viewing this?
Yes, there is a pool of reporters. There's 3 reporters inside a viewing room located right next to the execution chamber. Plus, they also have closed-circuit TV going out to another group of reporters. Norman Lumpkin of our staff, he has viewed this process on closed-circuit TV. Now, getting into the prison to view this, the restrictions were very tight tonight. There were no metallic objects allowed in. They wanted to make sure that there were no... Now we're getting some more information on Mr. Evans at this time. The restrictions were very, very tight going into the prison for the members of the media that would want to view this on closed-circuit TV, and they wanted to make sure, absolutely sure, that nobody was carrying any kind of recording device inside the prison to record them. That was absolutely forbidden. If anybody had any metallic objects on them, they would be subject to a strip search. They were already subject to a thorough search. But, and if they felt that they were trying to go around this this stipulation, that they would immediately be sent back to the media center. They would not be allowed in the prison.
Don, where has the family been during all of this?
They have been sheltered by friends of the lawyer and other people. We believe that they've been staying nearby. We were told last night that they would be with Reverend Father Degnan, that they would hold a small prayer vigil and also hold a prayer service at an undisclosed location. And we have not seen the family members. We understand there have been several family members down. His stepfather, we've told, has talked to him. Also, his mother, who has been very instrumental. It was instrumental in getting his first stay from the electric chair 4 years ago. It was her appeal to the Supreme Court that prevented his electrocution 4 years ago at Holman. And we also understand his sister is here, and he's also been meeting with his brother. So the family members are here. An interesting note on that, 4 years ago, he was what they called estranged from his family and from religion, according to Reverend Degnan, Father Degnan. He found Christ 4 years ago, and about the same time he got back with his family and has become, or had become, very close to them.
Okay, now does the governor's office have the line to the prison right now?
There was a line open, I know all the way until the switch was thrown the first time. Manning the phone was the State Prison Commissioner, Fred Smith. Right before the switch was thrown, from the understanding we have of the procedures, the warden, before he threw the switch, he checked with Commissioner Smith for a last time to see if there were any stays, and apparently there were none.
Okay, so we are still waiting then on a death pronouncement.
That's right. Two doctors, one employed with the prison department. Both doctors are from Atmore. We don't know. Mr. Evans could have 5 witnesses in the viewing room next to the execution chamber. We understood yesterday that he only asked for 2. His attorney out of Atlanta, Russ Cannon, and another man named Rick Dent. We only know him, and he's been described by prison officials as a friend of Evans. Those were the only 2 that he requested. Now, throughout the day, let's back up a little bit. Throughout the day, he has been treated like just any regular inmate. They said that once the stay went into effect yesterday, that put everything on hold. He did not have another last meal, or was he given last rites today. They were given yesterday, and they did not do that again today. They said basically that has been done, and they were just in a hold, and as soon as they received word, which they did shortly after 7 o'clock, they began shaving his head. Now, we hear some buses outside. We understand, apparently that is members from the news reporters that viewed the execution on closed-circuit TV are just coming back in right now.
Okay. Don, in any of the briefings with the prison... Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering, in any of the briefings with the prison officials, did they describe what would be happening to Mr. Evans, once he was strapped into the chair? Did they describe the electrocution process? What happens to the body? There have been, ghoulish reports in the past.
1 second. Norman Muntz just returned.
Can we get him?
He viewed the execution on TV and in closed-circuit TV, and I'll turn him over to you right now.
Okay.
And let you ask some questions of him. Norman viewed the... Right. We're on TV right now,
Norman. Norman, hey, this is Gina. What happened with the execution? Can you describe what took place?
You have to talk louder. There's a lot of noise in the room. You said what?
Okay, what happened with the execution? Can you describe what went on?
We were in what is normally a visiting room. There were 3 color TV monitors. We got there at 8:16, and John Lewis Evans was already strapped in the electric chair. He was flanked by 2 corrections officers. At about 8:20, the officers proceeded to buckle him into the chair, attach the electrodes. At about 8:25, they put the mask over his face, and at approximately 8:30, the current was turned on. And the only way I can describe it is I really don't have any words for what I saw. There were 31 reporters, TV, radio, and print journalists in the viewing room. We were accompanied by prison officials and a riot arrest team of corrections officers. I really don't have any words to describe it, except to say that John Lewis Evans appeared not to flinch. He didn't yell or scream or protest or anything. The sight was this. I saw flames and smoke coming from around the head area and from the leg area. That's what I witnessed. We rode over from the press center on buses, and there was a lot of small talk and even some laughter. But on the way back, nobody talked. Nobody said a word. That's what I saw.
Okay, so the pronouncement then has been made that Mr. Evans is dead.
Okay. Officially, we have heard no announcement that he's officially dead, As soon as the current was turned on and we saw what I just described, we were ushered out of the building on the buses to come back over to the media center. We are expecting Prison Commissioner Fred Smith and prison spokesman Ron Tate to come here in just a few minutes to give us an official announcement as to whether or not John Lewis Evans is dead and whatever other things that they have to tell us.
Okay, thanks, Norman. We'll get back with you in our 10 o'clock report.
Okay.
Thanks.
And that was Norman Lumpkin and Don Phelps, both reporting live from Atmore at Holman Prison. The execution of John Lewis Evans has taken place. The current had to be pulled twice, and although that has happened, there still has been no official pronouncement that he is dead, although one is expected shortly. We'll bring you up to date again on the John Lewis Evans story in our 10 o'clock report, and this has been a WSFA TV News Special.
This has been a WSFA TV News Special Report. We now return you to our regular programming.
It took 3 jolts of electricity to carry out convicted killer John Lewis Evans' death sentence. Reporters at the prison's media center were given an account of the execution relayed by a prison spokesperson.
The switch has just been thrown.
We did smell what appeared to be fall, leather.
The execution of John Lewis Evans has now...
The doctors came in and examined Mr. Evans and said that he was not dead. This was due to the strap on the left leg completely blowing apart. It was strapped back on with the strap that is supposed to hold the leg to the chair. At 8:33, the second charge was applied to Mr. Evans. And this was at the doctors examined him. They simply asked the doctor's request to do it one more time so that both of them could be exactly sure that he was dead.
The warrant reads until the...
The execution of John Evans was a barbaric ritual that has no place in a compassionate and civilized society. Cannon also said Evans was burned alive by the state of Alabama and tortured in the name of vengeance.
There it is, that third one.
Qualifying day was a day for the young guys at the Martinsville Speedway. Ricky Rudd with a race qualifying record of 90.005 miles
We expect that this go pretty.
I love this, man. This is great.
Hey, somebody step up and hold her. You don't like me?
I'm not holding it.
Somebody step up and hold
And I don't think a judge should be sitting up there making the arbitrary decision. I think the judge should be listening to two people and letting two people resolve.
Judges need to be brought under control. They have entirely too much power. They have more power than the President of the United States. They can take your children away from you, and the President can't. And you have no recourse. We feel that things change that will bring about a betterment in our family court.
Children. And some point in time, we're going to have to change our philosophy around.
There's both judge and jury. And he's supposed to make his decisions based on the evidence.
And we support that whatever is a
Well, if you have achieved proposals to include marriage, now that can be divided up and it can be done fair. Where both feel that they got what they should.
Intersection and get about whatever a dozen signs and a dozen kids over, of course. That goes for the day in this parking lot. Don't get run over out there. Don't get so excited it popped in my head. Although talking about money, you know, in every town and every community. A good idea is at a mall where there is one office. You go to the office before you go there, and there is not a resident. Both publicize your work, that is, get it through people's heads that they're supposed to avoid. Picture by any means of them. He would welcome you at any time, no problem. But in any event, it wouldn't hurt to go inside the stores first and say, look, we're going to be doing. Thompson
First set, Hank Pfister in the far court serving. Connors makes the return, and then Pfister with the nice shot, but Connors counters with the cross-court winner. Jimmy wins the first set 6-3. In the second set, Connors serving this time from the far court. He makes the return. Pfister will come to net. Connors the lob, but Pfister. The overhead smash. Connors throws the racket in vain. Pfister wins the second set 6-1. Pfister serving here in the third and deciding set. He comes to net. He hits a smash. Connors the return. Pfister returns that one, and then Connors, the beautiful winner. Jimbo loves those shots. He wins it by a score of 6-3, 1-6-7-5. I'm Michael Stone for NBC News.
Just ready for summer, ready for school to be over.
I love Op. It's a great town. Everybody's so nice and all.
You on that trip? That house across the street.
Beta rays. What can we say?
It's nice out. Too nice to be working.
I'm headed back to Wing.
To where?
Wing, Alabama.
Where's
Little
that?
small place, you bet your eyes, you know, and miss the whole damn thing.
I just got married about 2 months ago, and I'm sure we will stay here forever.
The ones that belong to the church, you know what they are?
What?
Hypocrites.
Mm-hmm.
When you go stick your hat out like that, you fill it up, the preacher say, God bless you. That's the way that goes. I've been knowing it for 66 years. I'll be 66 years old my next birthday. And I'm still having a good time.
Well, just getting my driving license renewed is all.
Mechanical arm looking down to the wrist where it showed another camera, and that one is not working. So late today, the backup crew, Ken Mattingly and Henry Hartsfield, went into a simulator here to check out plans to use the mechanical arm without television at the wrist, by looking out the window and by using the elbow camera and others in the hold to save some of the most important items on the flight plan. Late today, Fullerton floating and Lousma seated showed scientists a weightless blood sampling experiment. And finally, they showed us the